So thank you so much for being on the show. I wanted to start out by talking a little bit about the AI work you've been doing. I know that that's been a hot topic lately with open AI and other things that people are plugging into. And there's certainly applications to the collision industry. I think we're going to see more and more of that down the road. I've definitely seen a lot of cool tech, but keep in mind the collision industry is a very old one and very slow to change as well, which I'm sure you're well aware of with a lot of folks, especially in that kind of boomer era of mechanics and body techs and painters that are all older. And then we kind of have that new crop coming in, which is the labor shortage is obviously another discussion in and of itself. But I kind of wanted to get a flavor of what you guys been working on and some of your goals and how you're going to accomplish that.
Yeah, Tractable, it's a global company. We're headquartered out of London, and it seems like it may be new or a startup, but it really isn't. It's 10 years old.
Wow.
Our founders started out in 2014. And one of the things that they were doing is that they were working on their PhDs in artificial intelligence, machine learning, and computer vision. They found that once the technology could discern a bowling ball with the three holes, a chocolate chip cookie with the three chocolate chips in it, and a pug dog, with the eyes and the nose,
Okay.
and it would say bowling ball, cookie, dog. That's when they knew that the computer vision could now start to classify items. So they first started looking at the medical field. But you wouldn't think about it, but there's not that many images other than x-rays that really doctors take. So if you go to like a dermatologist and they look at your skin, nobody pulls out a Polaroid and says,
No.
"Let me take a picture." If they did, you would think there's really something wrong with you, right? You
Right.
want the casual. Listen, I've seen it 1,000 times. I'm going to give you a prescription for cortisone cream or whatever,
Right.
right?
Right.
And leave. So, but when they started looking at industries, the biggest industry was, of course, what collision has, with many, many images, many, many documents, the estimate, and they classify things. And that was a great opportunity for them. Uh, and we use our technology in a number of ways, and it really adds value across the whole ecosphere. Companies like LKQ, they use us to purchase salvage. They take a look. Their buyers used to just look at every vehicle. Now they
Right.
have the AI that can look at it and say, these are the number of good parts on this car. And
Wow.
then that's the computer vision part of it. Then the AI can go over, look at what's in inventory, what they need, pull up. And there's generally about 30,000 vehicles for sale every day in the United States. And that's generally between IA and Copart. So it
Okay.
stays pretty steady. So that's your buying opportunities, between those two big auctions.
A thought kind of occurred to me when you talked about the AI being able to identify certain things on the vehicle. Do you think in the future, if let's say a customer, gets into an accident, they might take some pictures of their car and upload it, let's say, to the insurance carrier. The insurance carrier might just be like, hey, based on this AI, your car's totaled. You don't even need to take it to the shop.
Sure.
I'm going to send you a check right now. You don't have to do anything. Because I feel like that would have some serious implications to a lot of people's bottom line. Because I can tell you a lot of shops make a lot of money off total losses.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, our AI is being used around the globe for first notice of loss decisions presently. So,
Wow.
yeah, so insurance carriers are using it. The insured has an accident. And really, the biggest decision is if the car is repairable or not repairable,
Right.
right? So if it goes into, let's say that the vehicle is not repairable, that's when you would want to be able to talk to the consumer, find out what's the best solution, for them. Some people retain salvage, others don't, right? Um,
Okay.
and then if the car is repairable, This is really where it expedites. You're now being able to choose a shop, right?
Right.
You're able to decide what parts are available, what parts are not available. And particularly during the times of COVID, and we start to bang off of databases like Parts Trader. We do have a relationship with Parts Trader, so we know where parts are around the world, or particularly around the United States.
Wow.
And yeah, and then be able to say your car's drivable, it's pretty good, but right now you have some jeopardy in the supply chain. And since it's a drivable car, why don't you just keep on driving it, and then we'll catch up. That really is a customer pleaser. Um,
Right.
yeah, and then if you take the opposite side of it, um, we work with one major carrier, and we do a review on the claims that the DRP shop wrote. It used to take this carrier about 5 days. So we're talking about in the millions of claims
Oh, I'm
per year,
sure.
right? So the DRP shop would write an appraisal. It goes in, and it take about 5 days for a human assessor to review it and say, yeah, I agree with you. Now we can do that in about 30 seconds. So that has taken 5 days cycle time off.
Yeah.
Um,
Just waiting for supplement approval. Sure. That sounds
100%.
incredible, honestly.
Yeah.
Would you say when shop, let's say they get an initial estimate, obviously the initial one isn't all that great because if you haven't torn down the car, you really don't know what the damage is anyway. You're just getting your best guess.
Right.
And when they go through after the teardown, I mean, not having to wait on a supplement sounds really appealing, right? Like that's a huge hangup in a lot of cases with a lot of insurance carriers, whether they're overstaffed or understaffed. Most people would say understaffed because they're
Sure.
all remote now. But I guess the next question would be is kind of the accuracy, or I know everybody writes an estimate differently, right? How do you think that kind of pairs up with the shop who, let's say is asking for everything that's legitimate, but it's, 5,000 over the initial estimate, and how quickly is it able to kind of reconcile and say, hey, this is your approved amount, and is how accurate really is that?
Well, I'll tell you, I don't know of any AI that's being used in the auto physical damage business around the globe that does anything that's below the surface of the vehicle. So do think about the images come from Class A surfaces. We have body shops now that use our product, and they post it on their website. They'll have a QR code that they mount on the wall. So now their shop's open 24/7. If a consumer goes by, they can just hit
Yeah.
the QR code, then they can do their own assessment. But anything to do sub level of the outside panels, there's really no AI that makes any of those decisions. So
Okay. Okay.
right,
That was my
right.
question. Once you tear down the car and you upload like that next set of pictures after
No, you, yeah,
you can't do that yet.
absolutely not. I'm certain
Okay.
probably at one point it will be, but there's so many things to classify.
Sure.
I remember 5 years ago, uh, a company like ours that could take a look at the outside of a vehicle, and if they could classify 19 major panels, they were very advanced, very
Wow.
advanced. To say, just like a human would, that's a fender, that's a door, that's a roof, that's a deck lid, right? That there's
Right.
a lot of training to do that across the spectrum of all cars. We're now to the point that we have 87 exterior parts that we can identify. So
Sick.
yeah,
Yeah.
so now think about a grill, some of the subcomponents of a grill, or a bumper cover, some of the subcomponents, particularly around where you have some fog lights and bezels and things. Yeah, so now the AI, it just gets machine learning part of it just gets better and better. So you are identifying some of those smaller parts, being able to link them back to an estimating database and place them. So if you do think about how this works, it's no different than a human. It's making just basic decisions. Is the
Okay.
car repairable or not repairable? And if it is repairable, it prepares a list of all exterior parts that are damaged. And then it
Right.
says, of that part, is that a repairable part, or is that, do we have to replace it? So it's very easy to think about it theoretically,
Okay.
very hard to execute.
Sure. No, of course, everything is. It's all always easier said than done, right?
Right.
Because I was at the NADA last year and I saw a guy giving a presentation on service technicians using, um, I don't know if it was meta glasses or something like that, but he's recording a video of working on a customer's car, and as he's looking at the car, it's identifying, hey, here's the engine, hey, here's this part of the car, here's that part of the car. And then it's even him upselling during the video. So it'll identify a part and say, hey, I could replace this filter for you. And all of a sudden, $30 would appear, and it's creating a cart for the customer for an upsell as
Yes,
working on it and sending that over, which I found incredible, really.
it is, and the customers absolutely love it because um, what you have is transparency. They're
Yeah.
seeing what you're seeing, and that technology was more than likely VR, virtual reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so or augmented reality. And so they're looking at it through lenses. The military really started a lot of that stuff for the folks that work on complex like helicopter Cobra jet engines and things like that.
Cool.
So it would train some of the folks on how to identify what parts are needed to be replaced. And then they've taken that, and now the civilian use has come to the automotive training, and now it's actually
Sure.
interfacing with the customers. It has really matured, but
That's
that
awesome.
transparency is what it's all about. and and there's a lot of satisfaction that customers get when they have the speed of the decision, because right now, it's classically, you you have these periods of uncertainty when you have an automobile accident, and you really don't know who is a trusted advisor. Prior to Tractable, I ran USAA's global auto physical damage operations, and you think about, for 11 straight years, that group got the highest JD Power rating and customer satisfaction. And the main thing that we looked at was eliminating periods of uncertainty, and where can we insert more uh, transparency within the process, and how can we quickly give the consumer sort of a coached expert opinion on what's best to do in your situation. And that's really lacking for a lot of people now. Like you said, there are people that are leaving the industry, and with that is a unbelievable amount of knowledge, you
Oh,
know
yeah,
yeah,
for
unbelievable.
sure.
So you're having, now you're being able to take this part of what they understand and what they know, and then make it institutionalized with machine learning with AI. So it's really paying off in the customer satisfaction channels.
That's awesome. I wonder how far this really goes because obviously I know some folks that they have estimate scrubbers. I've heard of a few things with SCRS with their bot program. I have some connections with, Rev High Impact Technologies. Those guys doing the kind of the consumable side, and they're kind of branching into other sides of this.
Hmm.
But do you think it's realistic that, maybe 10, 20 years in the future where you might not have a highly paid estimator working with a customer. You might have someone that goes out, takes a few pictures, then tech tears the car down, takes a few more pictures, run it through a few programs, and boom, you have a 95% accurate estimate, which is probably better than most estimates written today.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, we do everything you mentioned today except for the part post teardown. But prior to that, we're finding that some of the shops that are using our technology, they're really starting to hire on the soft skills. So they're getting people that can quickly embrace the customer,
Right.
go out there very fast, take their own device, an iPad or a cell phone, take 4 pictures and then 2 up close. That writes the first appraisal in about 30 seconds. Um, and
Right.
then the customer now can walk away with an assessment of what all visible damage is. So they are doing that now, and there's in fact, I just had dinner with him on Monday night out of Canada. He has increased his customer satisfaction on those by 300%. He works for a major carrier, one of the crowns in Canada, and they are sending him more and more and more cars because they are more customer satisfaction because they understand indemnity and they understand what's going to be for expense level. So the shops that they work with is going to be how do you treat the customer, and he has to build another store to accommodate the amount of more business that he's getting. And it's doing exactly just what you said. It's
Yeah.
taking a person that's otherwise not part of the industry.
Right. Right.
You think about a person that would work at a jewelry counter or a person even that works at anything to do with high touch customers. You can take even a great person that works at a hotel desk or
Yeah.
a makeup counter. Imagine how they change the business. And I'll tell you one more thing it does. It's pretty cool. Those shops that invest in having all the tooling and having anything to do with an OE certified program during that period after, let's say it's an Audi, let's say it's an aluminum Audi. Once they take those images before they go back to their desk and they can pull it up on the PC and they can spin the screen around, they take them by and say, here's our Audi certification. Back in this corner is where we're going to separate your car with an aluminum room, and no ferrous materials can get to it. We're the ones, and here now let's go look at your appraisal. They're selling the attributes and the investments that the owner put into the shop. That's really the exciting part of it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Because obviously the whole labor shortage thing is always a hot topic, and unfortunately, when you really think about it, all the shops are fighting over this really same small. All the shops are really fighting over the same small group of people, right? Like, if you're trying to hire an estimator, normally you're taking that estimator from another shop. They're not just you know popping out of college and you get a new fresh one. Like, it doesn't work that way. You have to grow your own employee base and keep them too. So, and people that aren't familiar with the industry, I mean, most guys that I know are working 7 to 6, 6 days a week. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
it's not an easy go. So if there's any way to expedite that efficiency, get the customers the answers they need, I think it's all a positive thing for the industry.
It really is, and that is the best way to leverage this technology. And really, what I try to stress is that at the end of the day, what Tractable really sells is decisions. Very fast, very accurate decisions um, that you have to make. And then they're documented somewhere, and that becomes the appraisal. But that's really what you're buying when you're buying AI. And you're buying a tool that can be used remotely anywhere around the world.
Yeah,
Um,
right. You're just taking a picture with your phone, I'm assuming off an app that loads it up and hey, you get an instant answer, right? There's no that
yeah,
uncertainty period gets lessened, which is
yeah. Well,
which
I'll
is
tell you,
a big question to answer.
it is. And you did mention an app. We don't have an app. Here's what we found. We found that when we did work with an app earlier, I'm talking 7 years ago, when we
Okay.
did work with an app, about 20% of the people completed the experience. No one's downloading an app to use. 1 out of 5, let's just say that. I can't say
Wow.
no one.
Right.
20% of them do, right? So once you understand that people don't want to download an app, take that time and have to deal with that, um, we use what's called a web-based experience off of a text. So
Okay.
yeah, so when you do scan the QR code, or let's say that you have your shop and a person says, "Yeah, my car is damaged right now," and you go, "I would love to see it." They'll go, "Well, I can bring it by." You go, "No, sir," or "No, ma'am." I'll say, "Right now, as we're speaking, give me your phone number. I'm going to send you a text. You're going to be able to open it up." They click as they put their phone on speaker. This is how it works. You put your
Wow.
phone on speaker, you open up the text, it now starts that session. You can take the 4 images, then you can take the 2 up close. You can put in the mileage, then you can insert the VIN.
Right.
That comes across, and you say, well, let's wait about 30 seconds. But in the meantime, you can start to talk about why it's good. This is why you called my shop. We're taking care of you right now.
Right. Right.
And
Right.
yeah, and you're getting someone that's in that workflow to go to your shop, right? No need to shop anymore. Your shopping's done. Um,
Yeah.
so now you can physically go to the portal that you have. You can look at it and say, I'm looking at your car right now. As you can see, it gave you a PDF, and it gave you we're not going to say an appraisal, but it gave you a quote. So now, number one, we know your car is repairable because it's made that decision. And then number two, it's provided you a quote, let's say 2,500. You know that you have a deductible of 500, and then you tell them, I know from experience, there's going to be more things damaged on the car. I just know there are. But with this quote, we can't put it on it because we just can't see it. But now when can we book you to come in?
Right.
Do you need help with that deductible? You're now being an expert coach because you have now had technology make a lot of decisions, and both of you are working to solve the problem. That is the solution that we sell this very moment.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I can see expediting that customer scheduling process so much easier and quicker, and seeing them have a modern experience through that technology, I think is going to be key for shops being able to capture those keys and get them scheduled in. I mean, that's
Absolutely. And now let's say that they're in a position that they can't do both. They can't look at the car. Um, you can now coach them and say, if they call you up and say, I tell you what, can you get to your vehicle, take 4 corner shots, 2 up close, put them in your phone, just put them in your phone photo library. And then you say, I'm going to text you a phone number. I mean, an experience. And when it comes across, just go to your photo library. Just click on those six. The AI can
yeah,
figure out what it's going to do with them. Just click on
yeah,
those six. It can upload it because that really helps. You got to think about we're headquartered out of London, and we do business in Poland and in France and the UK. We do a lot of business in Japan. I mean, a terrific amount of business in Japan.
wow,
And so with people that live in those non-American, very condensed urban environments where they have their car down on the garage on the second floor, but they live on the 42nd floor, um,
right,
right? And even when they're in that garage, sometimes they can't get a signal to really have a great experience. So it was that problem that prompted our engineers many years ago to solve for that, and that has just really gone just in a great way since to be able
yeah.
to customize an experience for customers.
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for really diving a little deeper into what the future holds and what the future has now, right? Like you brought a lot of these ideas that, as you mentioned, have been 10 years in the making already,
Yes,
and really bringing it to the forefront of the industry, which I'm a big fan of, and I think it's incredible of the work that you guys are doing. And I can't thank you enough for popping on the show today and kind of delving a little deeper into what's going on in your world.
you got it. Thank you very much.
Hey, I'll talk to you soon and have fun at SEMA.
All right, thank you.
Hey, you have a great day.
All right, bye bye.